News as within the last hour, we've learned former Cuyahoga County Commissioner Jimmy Dimora will give up half of his Independence home, his wife keeping her half. Good evening, I'm Lee Jordan.
And I'm DANITA Harris. The forfeiture comes after a jury convicted Dimora on a slew of corruption charges. News Channel 5's Ron Regan was inside the courtroom again today. And Ron, we understand this was all part of an agreement between Dimora and the prosecutors.
Well, you're exactly right. And if you recall, a federal jury was to decide just how much of Jimmy Dimora's assets would have to be turned over as part of repayment for his ill-gotten gains and his bribes. But this morning, when both parties arrived in court, apparently Dimora's attorneys decided at the last minute that they would do better if they tried to get into a forfeiture agreement with the government. So what unfolded here over the last 7 hours was a behind-the-scenes negotiations. When they emerged at 4 o'clock, they had a forfeiture settlement in hand, which, as you mentioned, at the top of that included his house. And I want to go over and enumerate some of this for you. To begin with, Jimmy Dimora will have to forfeit all of his interests in that home. He will have to forfeit roughly $122,000 of his state retirement pension that he earned as a county commissioner. He's also going to have to turn over any funds he has in excess of $10,000. Plus, now this is interesting because you'll remember it from the trial, one of the bribes he received was a signed autographed Beanie Wells Ohio State football jersey, and he's going to have to turn that over. And as I recall from testimony, that was valued at about $3,600. Now, on the other side of the coin, Lori Dimora also figured into this settlement agreement. In her case, she will be able to remain in the home and remain with a 50% interest in the home. She will stay in that house. Oh, by the way, she's allowed to stay in the home as long as she makes the payments and keeps up the maintenance on the home as required in the agreement. But when the case is finally appealed and it goes through what's called a final appeal, if in fact the verdict and the judgment is upheld, Lori Dimora will have 6 months to get out of the house, to vacate the house, and at that point it will be turned over to the United States Marshals Service and sold out from under her. She will get 50% of whatever a house sells for at that time. So to wrap up, a very big day here, unexpected day. No one saw a forfeiture agreement coming down the road, but apparently they hammered this out over the last 7 hours, and this brings an end to a 4-year federal corruption investigation and the largest corruption probe in the state of Ohio. Back to you.
Wow, a lot of details there today, Ron, and it's just unfortunate. Eventually, no matter what, Jimmy Dimora's wife will have to move out of their home.
She will be allowed to remain in the home as long as she makes payments on the home and keeps up the home, the maintenance on the home, until the final appeal goes through the courts. And as you know, Mr. Dimora undoubtedly will appeal this verdict, and that could take 18 months, 24 months, could take 3 years. But if it is finally upheld on appeal, then she has 6 months to vacate the house, and she will get 50% of whatever the house is worth.
All right, thank you very much. Ron Regan reporting live for us tonight.